Well, I'm never going canoeing again, that's for sure. Anyway, hey there guys, what's up? What's going on? It's Autobot Mike 18 here, back with another one of my old movie reviews. Guys, I'm trying to continue a streak of getting you a couple of these videos up before I have to leave for a week. Just real quick guys, before I get into this review, just want to touch upon this. I'll post a random vlog soon, but schedule of videos goes as follows. I want to post an old movie review for this. I want to get up a review for another old movie review of something. I don't know what yet. In the next week, a little less than a week. I want to get up my Blu-ray update and a random vlog. One more random vlog. So I'm going to try to get all that up to you guys very, very shortly. Anyway, the review that I have for you guys today in this video is another older movie, and this movie is pretty old. It's, yeah, 72. They just keep getting older. Guys, I'm going to be reviewing Deliverance in this video. Yes, Deliverance was released in 1972, and it was directed by John Boorman, and it's, I wouldn't say that this movie's become a cult classic. It's one of those movies that came out like in the 70s at the time, and it's really been raved about. I would say it was really raved about at the time, but of course The Godfather also came out in 72, so that didn't help it. Yeah, so this movie came out in around then, and I think it's since been one of those movies that not a lot of people are saying, yeah, it's one of the best movies ever, you know what I mean? It's just one of the. A lot of people do enjoy this movie. My parents raved about this movie to me once, and I got it on Blu-ray for Christmas. Hadn't watched it, never seen it before till a couple days ago, and I finally watched Deliverance, and now I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts. So getting into the synopsis of the movie, of course, spoiler free. You guys know me; I don't spoil. Deliverance follows a group of 4 grown men. They're a bunch of friends. They are going on a weekend-long canoeing trip at this fictional river valley called the Cahulawassee. I did need to look at my phone. Yeah. There's no way I was gonna remember how to say that, guys. Come on, man. I'm not that great. Cahulawassee River. Boom. Thanks, IMDb. They take a trip down to the Cahulawassee River. It's a fictional river, and yeah, they just want to go on a canoeing trip. You know, a weekend-long bonding canoeing trip. To go down this river, and things do not go well for these men. Let's just put it lightly. Things do not go well for them at all. I'll just say this much: they encounter a group of people known as the Mountain Man, the Mountain Man, and everything just goes to shit from there. And the movie basically becomes a survival story. And there you have it. There is Deliverance. Now, going into this movie, I didn't know a ton about it. As I said, I had only known, you know, when it came out, I had known that a lot of people said it was good and whatnot. My parents especially were the two who had recommended it to me, which is why I sought to buy it on Blu-ray. But yeah, I didn't know a whole ton, and I must say, after having watched the movie, I was definitely riveted for at least some of it. I really got engaged into the story of these 4 men, and I do think that at the time of this release, this honestly would have been one of those movies that if I was alive in the 1970s, had I seen it when it came out, I would have been like, holy crap, this is like really refreshing. I've never seen a movie like this before. Because we've definitely gotten stories where there's a group of people that go into the woods, into the country for a weekend, and there's a bunch of hillbillies that are going to do stuff to them, and we've seen that in many movies nowadays. And I think that Deliverance definitely is something that is original in that sense, you know what I mean, in terms of a premise and in terms of pushing the boundaries, I think, of what it actually happens in the script. I don't want to spoil anything, but to put it lightly, the squeal like a pig scene, I think, was one of those first scenes in this movie where people were like, Okay, wow, wasn't expecting that. Damn, I've never seen that before in a movie, and I could totally get it. I could totally get that, and I totally respect and admire this movie for going to these boundaries that I think other filmmakers and other films hadn't really touched at that point that this movie came out. So definitely props to John Boorman, the guy who wrote the script. James Dickey wrote the script, and this is based off of his novel. So what Deliverance, I think, has really well going for it, I think, are the performances from its leading characters. First off, the movie stars Burt Reynolds, Jon Voight, Ned Beatty, a.k.a. Lotso Huggenbear, and I don't know the other guy, and I don't think... Ronny Cox. They play Lewis, Ed, Bobby, and Drew. Got them all. And I think these guys work well together. I buy them as a group of friends. And they are all pretty diverse, I think, and they're all distinct for the most part. I would say the most emphasis is definitely put on Burt Reynolds and Jon Voight, of course, because they're the two main characters. But I kind of like how they touched upon, like, Ned Beatty's just like a clumsy guy who has no idea what he's doing in a canoe, essentially. So I thought that was cool. And I think that... I think that they really made a good job of differing Burt Reynolds and setting him apart from the rest of the group. Because I think Burt Reynolds is a badass in this movie. I mean, he's just wielding that bow and arrow for basically the whole movie. And I really bought into that. I was like, this is awesome. These guys hear a noise in the woods. Burt Reynolds is the only one who's going to go investigate it. He's going to take the bow and arrow with him. So I think this movie gave us the unofficial earliest Daryl Dixon before The Walking Dead even was a thing. So there you go. So yeah, there's that. And I even liked a certain aspect to Jon Voight's character that I think is really unraveled very well. I think it's hinted at in the beginning of the movie when they first stumble across problems, and I think it's touched upon at a better rate later on in the film. So I was definitely a fan of what they did with his character. There's something specific. There's like a tidbit that's not the right word. He gets nervous when he's about to do something specific in this movie. That's all I want to say. When he has to get into combat, that's all I want to say. And I really liked that, as how that was carried out through the film. And just the idea of trying to overcome that, and stepping up when you need to in a situation like this. So I think that the characters, for the most part, are pretty well distinct. And I think that they, for the majority, sell the movie for me. And I think that the stakes and the overall premise work, and this is one of those movies where I feel that the location itself is kind of like a character within the movie, even though, like, not really. I'm one of those people who doesn't like to say, yeah, like, the location where they shot the movie is just, you know, it's a character in the movie. I believe that can be true for some movies, but other movies, no, it's where they shot the movie, whatever. Yeah, and I think that for Deliverance, yeah, they shot the movie in this wooded area, obviously by this lake. But I think that it works to the film's advantage because there are these very high mountaintops where people could be all the way up top, looking down below. They could have guns aimed at these four guys as they're canoeing. There's rapids that are pretty dangerous. The waters aren't always, you know, just nice and calm. They get choppy. And, you know, things aren't going to go well for these guys in this location. They're essentially trapped. They're in the middle of nowhere. There's no one they can contact. And they really can't trust anyone that they'd run into, in all honesty. And I just think that the location itself became a major player into getting these characters and bringing the conflict to them and having them try to solve it, essentially, when you look at a screenplay like that. So, excellent job. To the idea of just the setting, and I think it added overall to the tension, of course. I think John Boorman did a good job directing the movie. I think it's well shot. I think that the staging and everything is really good. I am one of those people who I'm a filmmaker myself. I never want to film a movie where characters have to ride on a boat or anything, because I don't know how they would do it. Like, would they get on another boat to get boat shots? Like, how the hell they... I don't know. That's just me. That's just the thing I probably wouldn't ever do. But, worked for this movie. So yeah, I think that it's a very high-strung thriller that goes to a lot of groundbreaking places within the script and within the scenes themselves. And I think there are very carefully interwoven, intense scenes that really escalate due to the location, the mountain men that are posing the conflict for our characters, and the fact that these characters, you know, they're all alone and they are just stuck and isolated in this one place, and they're kind of screwed. And while I do have problems with the movie, which I'll definitely get into. I don't think this is like a masterpiece, or I don't think it's a flawless movie. I do have a few minor faults that I'll get into. There's like 3 problems I had with it, but I'll get into that. I do feel, while a part of me wasn't the biggest fan of the final 15 minutes of the movie, I do think it opened a new door, and it was like, okay, this is another thrilling scene that they're going to add in. What the hell do these guys do next now that they are, you know, that certain aspects of the conflict are done with? But new things are going to come up, and, you know, it's going to slam these guys right in the face, and they're going to be screwed with it. So I'll say that I enjoyed all those aspects of the movie, from camera work, directing, and acting. I think storytelling is pretty good for the most part. I think the pacing is pretty good for the majority, except for the final 15 minutes, which I'll get into. So my problems with the movie, and why I'm saying that this isn't like a masterpiece or a flawless movie, and why I wasn't totally 100% hooked and invested into this movie, I'll say this much. While this is a thriller, there are moments that definitely work. For example, the squeal like a pig scene. I loved it. It was great. I was totally on the edge. I was like, oh my god, that is so messed up, man. Holy crap, poor Lotso, man. And I was totally into it. My only problem for the majority of the movie is that, yes, these guys are dealing with problem after problem, problems that are brought about not only by the mountain men, but by the location themselves. But I feel that the mountain men characters that are supposed to be pushing these guys to their limits weren't present enough in the movie. I wanted more of them, or I wanted them to be more of a force to be reckoned with, you know what I mean? So I felt that while the threat is there and it was working, it wasn't always working for me, and I didn't feel that these characters were always under the peril that I wanted them to be in. Like, I felt that they could have taken it more into more places. So that was one thing that kind of took me out of the movie. Another thing that I think, this is like a minor thing, I feel that Jon Voight's character, I feel that there are a few things that I think were a little unclear with the editing. In general, the pacing was good, but in terms of specific cuts, there's one moment in particular, brief, minute spoiler. Jon Voight shoots an arrow at somebody, and mini spoiler. Shoots an arrow at somebody, he falls, and there's now an arrow in his back, through his side. A, I have no idea how that got there. B, you're not going to try to convince me that he fell on that, because there's no way that arrow was standing straight up and he fell right on top of it, because that's, no. And he didn't shoot his own arrow into himself, because no, that's not a possibility. So it's little moments like that that I think they tried to add to the plight of these characters, but I'm just sitting there wondering, like, wait, how the hell did that just happen? I don't understand that. That's so confusing, and I don't think it was clear in the editing or in the filmmaking. So I think that there's just little moments like that. I was like, yeah, okay, I don't buy that, but whatever. And my biggest problem with this movie is, I think, the 15 minutes, because I really strongly feel that the film did not know where it wanted to end. If you ask me, come right before we get the 15-minute long ending, I would have cut the film right when, spoiler, mini spoiler, when the characters get back to the cars. I would have ended the film right there. Maybe a few close-ups on Jon Voight, Burt Reynolds. There we go, to show that they're never going to forget this trip. What do they do now? After everything that has just happened, I would have had no problem ending it there, because they were part of this location, and that was, for me, that was where the soul of the movie was, and to end it there, it would have been perfect for me. But the movie does keep going, and we get introduced to several other characters, and I was like, okay, I kind of see where this is going. Like, there's one scene, for example, where a character meets another character's family, and I was just like, or he has dinner with them, and I was just like, why? And I thought that they would have gone to new places with some of the characters in that moment, and it didn't. And I was like, okay. And then, however, while I still feel that the ending went on too long and I would have cut the movie sooner, there was a moment within that final 15 minutes that I thought worked, involving a hospital scene. And I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, okay, there's the tension again. How do they get out of this? And the whole involvement with the police, I thought that was working pretty well. And then we come to what I felt should have been the final shot of the movie. It's the still shot of a lake, and something happens, something rises out of the water, and I really thought they were going to cut it right there. And I was like, okay, I get it. These guys, they're still going to be weighed down by what they did. They're not going to forget it. But the movie keeps going to one more final shot that's added in of a night. It turns out that last shot that I wanted to be the ending was a whole nightmare. And I was like, really? Are you kidding me? So I feel that the movie didn't know where it wanted to end, and I feel that it could have ended in several other places as opposed to where it actually did. And I totally would have been fine with it, and I thought that it would have given me an all-around better movie. That said, it feels like for the last 3 minutes I was crapping on this movie. Those were just 3 things that kept me from loving this movie more than I wanted to. Overall, I'd still recommend Deliverance if you're a fan of these actors, and if you're a fan of a thriller set in basically one contained location where the location adds to the plight of the story. Definitely check out Deliverance. I'm going to give this movie a solid grade of an 8.75 out of 10, or a B+. I think it's a good time. I think it's fun. I think it's creepy. I think there's some messed up crap that happens in this movie that is pretty messed up, and there you have it. So guys, those are my thoughts on Deliverance. What did you guys think of the movie? Let me know down below if you have seen it. What are your thoughts on it? And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching my old movie reviews. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye-bye.